My name is Blake Sims, and I am a design thinking curriculum coach for the MIT Edgerton Center. As a former public school teacher myself, I truly believe that the design thinking process should be something that all students, regardless of what school they're at, should be exposed to and should be practicing. Today we're running a PD session for a select group of Banneker staff members to think about the design thinking process and ways to bring one specific stage into their classrooms. We've decided to focus on prototyping. We've done workshops on empathy and interviewing in the past, and we think that's a great place to start because it's a really important skill for students. We also think prototyping is an easy starting point for teachers because it's fun and engaging, and it's something that the students really love to do. And so in developing the PD session, we wanted to make it hands-on for the teachers so that they could experience prototyping as students, and then spend part of that time planning on how to bring it into the classroom from a teacher's point of view. So my role as a coach was to create an opportunity for them to brainstorm how might we bring prototyping into a BioSketch unit. And together they brainstormed their own ideas, and they used Post-its, and they thought about different strategies and the pros and cons of those opportunities. And then because they were in the student role, they actually had to go through and make a prototype of what that might look like in their unit.
The way that we teach biographies at the Banneker is we do an in-depth study and an immersion of many different biographies. In fifth grade, we tend to focus on activists because that is what interests the teachers most.
The BioSketch is an essay about a person, a subject, from the perspective of the students. They get to decide their point of view on the person that they have studied. And then that point of view determines the information that they use, put together, synthesized in the form of an essay. The kids actually get to learn about the world around them and to learn about those giants in the world in a way that seems to be really authentic, impactful, because many kids are able to kind of determine what changes they too can make in the world.
A visual prototype is a sketch that helps articulate your ideas. And so for the BioSketch unit, students were already thinking about timelines to explain the major events in a character's life. And so we thought, why not bring visual prototyping in at this stage, because students love to draw, and unfortunately there are very few opportunities for them to do that in the classroom.
The pieces of design thinking that made sense were really around these visuals that I know for me, I hadn't really done much of that at all in my classroom. Words are one way of kind of getting a hold of meaning, and pictures can not only give your language part of your brain a break, which I think is really important for adults and kids, but it also kind of lends a different perspective to the subject.
Because what we would typically do is have a timeline with different points on it. And in 1975, this happened. In 1974, this happened. And then it seems to, the temptation to just rewrite different points on the timeline without fully understanding and synthesizing the information is there with that traditional timeline. But we felt that the visual timeline really forced the students, one, to work as a group, to come up with all the information together and make a decision about a visual representation that best captures a particular time in the person's life. It was just very interesting, engaging, and supported critical thinking, a lot of critical thinking, and to help them to use that wonderful skill of synthesizing, taking information and making it your own. I think that is what the visual timeline did.
After students did the visual prototyping for their BioSketch, they were really excited to share what they had done or what they had learned about their person. There was energy and enthusiasm. They felt like they were really able to capture meaningful moments in these characters' lives through images that they created. And There was a different level of ownership, I think, of what they had done than if they had simply created a more traditional timeline.
So we learned about Sojourner Truth by this book called Sojourner Truth, Ain't I a Woman? We found out when she was born and when she died and in between.
Well, what we created here is a timeline of her life, but we actually didn't write words and we drew pictures.
My favorite part was finding accurate times and events.
It was a little bit difficult because you need to make sure that you have all the right information, that you're making sure that it goes according to the person's life.
It could be helped by people learning about Sojourner Truth, so some people could forget about Sojourner Truth, and then when they look at her timeline, they could remember her again and learn what she did, what she made an impact on in the world.
It feels like the design thinking process goes down some wandering paths and then comes back, and we as teachers don't really know where it's going to go or how long it's going to take. So we're having to kind of step back and take a little bit of a risk with it. At the same time, we all know that if kids are only having a superficial experience with the curriculum, they're not going to be learning it anyway.
For the BioSketch unit, the idea of visual prototyping was an opportunity to bring part of the design thinking process into the classroom and start using some of that vocabulary. You've got to start somewhere. Bringing the design thinking process into your school and into your classroom is messy and it takes time, and there will be trials and failures, and you will get it right some days and other days you'll feel like you've bombed it. That's the reality of teaching, I think, in general, but the design thinking process is an optimistic belief that we can make solutions that improve the world as we see it today. And if we can equip our students to think that way and to act that way, we're really setting them up for future success.